morning. Happy Monday. Thanks for joining me this morning. We're just going to come to a seated position this morning. So just go ahead, grab whatever you need. Blanket, cushion, towel. And just come to a seated position. Cross-legged. You can have your hands on your knees. And from here, just going to rock a couple times from right to left. And you can rest your hands on your knees. Maybe open the palms up to the ceiling. Take a mudra if you like, a more energizing mudra or a calming mudra. And then from here, like pressing down through that tailbone or taking your awareness to the tailbone and just lifting up to the sternum. Then lifting all the way up through that crown of the head. Exhaling, let the shoulders just melt away from the ears. Let everything go, worries, concerns for the next hour. Inhale, lengthen, exhale, gently close the eyes. And start to take your awareness to those ujjayi breaths, just basically filling up that belly and then filling up that chest. So pressing that navel out, filling up the belly to all four sides of your rib cage. And then we're going to inhale up, fill the lungs. And then exhale from the inhale again from the tailbone up to the top of the head. And then we're going to exhale from the top of the head down to the tailbone. So just inhaling, really opening up that rib cage, feeling every last millimeter of the inside of your torso and your chest with oxygen. You can always take a hand to the belly and a hand to the chest if you want to feel that breath. As you fill up the belly, then fill up the chest. Empty the chest, empty the belly, drawing that navel in. And then just take your awareness to your breath, just listening to your breath for the next few cycles through of breath, waves of breath. Just taking that awareness inward, listening. Noticing the sensations as you breathe in and as you breathe out. Just lengthening on the inhalation, just creating space in between those vertebrae. Just make yourself just a tiny bit taller with every inhalation. And just relaxing, releasing those shoulders a little bit more with every exhalation. A few more breaths here. Just letting that breath bring you into the present moment. Just breathing in calm and peace. And just a few more breaths here. And on the next inhalation, we're going to gently open the eyes. Just blink a few times. Readjusting to that light. Still keeping that core really strong, lifting through that sternum to the chest. And we're going to start to just bring our motion and our breath together. So we're going to reach out to the side, inhale up. Press those palms together, exhale, bring those hands to heart center. And inhale, just opening up, stretching through those arms. Exhale. Inhale. And then here, just reaching to those fingertips, really active, waking up those shoulders, elbows, the fingers. And we bring those palms together, and if this feels okay, either staying here or bring those palms just behind that head, reaching up to those shoulders. And releasing. Then from here, bring those hands right in front. We'll just walk those forward. Just hinging at those hips. Or lengthen through the back of the neck, taking that nose down to the floor. Soften. Maybe sway a little bit from side to side. Opening to the side of the torso. To those hips. You feel that opening all the way down to the hip. All the way down to where your body's connected to the mat. You can crawl those fingers a little bit further if you like, or even come down on those elbows. Let the head hang. Maybe just nod your head yes and shake your head no if you want to soften to the neck. Or just staying here with those arms kind of stretched, reaching through those fingertips with a length through the back of the neck. Breathe into the hips, soften into the mat. Still breathing into that belly, maintaining those nice, long, deep breaths. And then go ahead and walk those hands over to the right, reaching through those left fingertips, pulling back through that left hip. Keeping that nose pointed towards the floor, maintaining that length in the back of the neck. And sinking down into that left side of the hips. Just one more nice long breath here. And then walking those hands back to center. Maybe this time walk those hands a little further away from the body. Oh, yeah. And we have a visitor. Walk those hands over to the left. Reach through those right fingertips. And take that nose down towards the mat. Pulling back through that right hip. Let that right hip feel heavy, connected to the mat. Just a few more easy breaths here. Softening on the exhalation. Just follow the breath. And then we'll walk those hands back to center. Walk those back up towards the body. Then from here, bring those fingertips to the shoulders. And then we're going to bring those elbows together like they're trying to kiss or just almost touch. Might be here, might be here. Move down and together. And I'm going to kind of try to draw circles with the elbows. So reaching up, up, up. And then pressing those shoulder blades together as we reach towards the back. And down at an angle, down towards your hips, rounding. And then again, just pressing those elbows forward and then trying to bring those elbows together. And lifting those up towards the ceiling. Maybe stay here for a moment, just kind of lifting up and out, whatever angle is fine. We just want that length through the elbow. Maybe while you're here, just shaking your head no, nod yes. And then just reach back with those elbows, feel that stretching across the chest. And back down. And just one more time around, bring those elbows together, lift. And draw those circles with the elbows. Just feeling that stretch all around the shoulders. Just sending that awareness to the shoulders. Giving them some extra special attention this morning. And release, we'll bring that right arm across the body and just sort of guide that across. We just like massage that arm. Still keeping that spine nice and long. We're still lifting through the crown of the head. And release, bring that other arm across. Grabbing towards that shoulder, just guide that across. Still pulling that navel in, lifting through the crown, lifting through the sternum. And then reaching out, energetic through those arms. Give yourself a hug. Just pull those shoulders down. Gently tuck the chin just a tiny bit. Just gently pull the shoulders away from the ears while lengthening through the back of the neck. Just take your awareness to your neck, your shoulders. And release. We'll bring those arms out. And then bring that other arm on top. Give yourself a hug. Gently pull those shoulders away from the ears. Lengthening through the back of the neck. Just pulling those shoulders down the sides of the body while lifting through the sternum. You can close your eyes here for a few breaths. And just gently release. And bring those hands out to the sides. And then we're going to lift through the crown of the head. Inhale, and then exhale, bring that right ear down to that right shoulder. We'll reach through those left fingertips. Staying here, you always have the option of just gently bringing that right hand to the side of the head and guiding that ear. And as I always say, really careful with the neck. Nothing should pinch or hurt. Just always be really mindful of how we move the neck, how it feels. Just never doing anything that's causing discomfort. Soften your gaze. Even close your eyes. And release, inhale up. Let's keep those hands down by your hips. We're going to exhale, bring that chin in towards the chest. And just lengthening, feeling that stretch all the way from the upper back, those upper traps, through the bottom of the skull, even up the top of the head or the back of the head. So inhale, lengthen, exhale, and stretching through the top of the shoulders, through the back of the head, the back of the neck is softening. And release. And move those hands just a little bit behind, just kind of out to the sides, maybe 6 inches back. just gonna take a gentle chest opener here. So just pulling those shoulder blades together, feeling the skin across the chest kind of stretch. We just gently look up at an angle. It doesn't have to be all the way to the ceiling. And just kind of being aware of how we hold our neck. And this kind of helps because our head is quite heavy. So really, how we hold our neck during the day can really affect how our shoulders and neck and everything feels. And release from here. We're going to reach out through those right fingertips and then bring that left ear down to that left shoulder. And staying here, bringing this hand to guide the ear, softening to that right side of the shoulder all the way down to the tip of the shoulder, up through the neck. And release. Inhale, lengthen through the crown. We're going to exhale, bring that chin in towards the chest again. And then we're going to roll that right ear towards that right shoulder. And start to carve those circles, big circles into the air. Being careful as you take your head towards the back. And it doesn't have to go very far back. It could just really be a very gentle angle here. Take that ear towards, left ear towards the left shoulder and just start to take those large circles to counterclockwise motion. You can keep your hands up, down to the sides, or even take them to your knees if that feels good. Just really just being mindful, give that awareness to all those muscles, and the shoulders and the neck. And slowly and gently just drawing those circles, feeling each muscle just stretch and soften. Just an area in our bodies tend to hold so much tension naturally. Just trying to just let that dissipate as we take nice, long, even breaths. Still lifting up, keeping that core strong. And then the next time the nose comes down towards the belly, we're just going to switch directions. So bring that left ear towards that left shoulder. And so your own pace, drawing those circles. Just feeling every individual muscle around the neck and the shoulders just stretch, soften. And if you're happen to be sitting at a computer for a lot of the day, this is always a great stretch to just do periodically. And we'll switch directions, just a few circles in that counterclockwise direction. Noticing any difference in the neck this time, any extra feelings of softening, and then the other direction. Start to bring those circles a little smaller. And then slowly coming back to a neutral position. Inhale through the crown of the head. Bring that right hand down to our right side and then lifting up and over. Reaching to those left fingertips. We're opening to this left side of the torso. Pressing down through that left hip. Just finding that spot where you can come down, but keep both of those hips firmly attached and connected to that mat. You can always come down on the elbow if you're that bendy, feeling that bendy. Yeah, just maybe pull that thumb towards the back of the room. We're just gonna spin open for a breath. And then exhale, bring that hand down to that knee. And then we're gonna bring that right hand behind. Lift up to the crown. Exhale, take that gaze to the back of the room. I'm starting to create space in between those vertebrae. Taking that gaze a little further back towards the back of the room. Still strong through that core, pulling in that navel. Lengthen, taking that crown of the head just a centimeter, a little bit closer to the ceiling. Exhale, release into that stretch. Just open, we're just waking up all those muscles around the spine. And release and gently unwind. Take those hands to the knees and we're just gonna round the shoulders, take a quick cat, kind of seated cat. Inhale, lift, press those shoulders together. Press, and then coming back to a neutral position, we'll bring that left hand down, reaching up and over. Pressing firmly through that right hip and then reaching up and over. Just imagine those ribs on the right side of the torso just spreading out a little bit. Keeping those hips connected to the mat. Find the spots that creates that openness. A feeling of opening in the shoulder, along the side of the torso. Pull that thumb towards the back of the room. Just gently take that gaze up, open. And then release, come down to that twist. So bring that right hand to that left knee, and then we'll bring that left hand behind. Inhaling through that crown, and then exhale, take that gaze towards the back of the room. Reaching up through that, lifting up through that sternum, through the crown of the head. Exhaling, you take that gaze just a tiny bit further towards the back of the room. With every inhalation, just lifting. Every exhalation, just twisting a little bit deeper. And gently release and then slowly unwind. We're just going to rock just a little bit from side to side, just kind of letting those hips kind of loosen up. Bring those legs out in front, a little bit further apart than the hips, and we're just going to bring those hands behind, point those fingers towards the back of the room. I'm just going to kind of rock those hips. Sorry, those knees from side to side, kind of window lunge in the knees. Just like adjust so that you can feel like you can kind of rock and open up through the hips. At your own speed, your own pace. I'm feeling that stretch through those wrists, through the hips. You should really start to feel a lot of softening and just release through the hips, through the shoulders. And maybe just bring those knees down, stay to one side. While lifting through the sternum, take that gaze to the left. release, bring those knees up, down to the other side. You're still stretching through those wrists, lifting through the sternum, take that gaze to the right. Taking that awareness to the breath. Notice what the breath is doing. You're still maintaining those nice, long, even breaths. And release. From here, we're just going to flip over, come to a tabletop position. You can bring something underneath a blanket or something if you want extra cushion under your knees, under your hands. And we're just really spreading out those fingers, bringing those shoulders over the wrists, knees under those hips. We're pressing down through the tops of the feet. And then from here, we're going to take those knees just a little bit further apart than the hips. Take those hands just a little bit further apart and just a little bit forward. And we're just going to start to kind of come back and forth. So we're pressing down through that tailbone. And then kind of rising up, lifting through the top of that head. And just kind of moving back, just taking that awareness, lengthening through that spine. Feeling that length. We're stretching through those wrists down to the bottoms of the tops of the feet. Just taking our awareness to spine, feeling that lengthen. And coming back to that tabletop position, you can stay with your knees and your hands a little bit further apart if you like, or just bring them back in a little bit. From here, we'll just take a few cat and cows. So we're going to inhale, press that belly down, pull those shoulders together. Exhale, round that tailbone, bring that chin into the chest, cat. Inhale, press that belly back down for cow. You can try even opening that jaw here. And then rounding, drawing that navel in. And then at your own pace, just taking a few more rounds of that. Just warming up and opening up, waking up that spine a little bit more. Keeping that breath coordinated so that you're inhaling on the cow and then exhaling or rounding for the cat. And coming back to a neutral position. I'm going to inhale and exhale, just look over that left shoulder. Taking that C shape with the spine. And back to center. Inhale. Exhale, look over that right shoulder. Gently coming back. And bringing those hands underneath those wrists, underneath the shoulders. We're going to inhale and exhale, bring that right leg up and back, pressing to that right heel. We're always checking to see that those hips are level. Just don't want one hip way up above the other. And drawing in that navel. We're strong through the core and the back. And staying here, or if you're feeling really balanced, add that left arm. Let that breath carry you through that position, to that pose. This is so good for strengthening the core, especially those back muscles. And release down. Inhale, push that belly down. Do a quick cow. Exhale, round. Cat. And back to a neutral position. And very quickly, we're just going to press down to the top of that left hand. And really not having to put, you don't have to put very much weight on that at all. Maybe just a little bit. Give that wrist a quick stretch. And then flip that back over, take that right hand, or flip that, press into the back of that right hand. Gentle with the wrist, this should feel good. Feel that stretch up through the elbow, through the forearm. And release. Spreading out those fingers. Inhale, and then we're going to exhale, bring that left leg out, press through that left heel. Level off those hips. We're lifting up through that hamstring. And staying here, add that right arm, and then reach those right fingertips. Breathe. And release down. And we're keep those hips above those knees for puppy. Just walk those hands forward. Pressing through those palms and then bring that forehead down towards the mat. It doesn't have to come all the way down, or maybe it softens all the way down to the mat. You just want that pressing through the palms, that opening through the shoulders. And this should feel really good through the shoulders. Maybe spider crawl those fingers further or come up on the fingertips. You always play around with that to see if you want to see if that kind of deepens that stretch in the shoulder, if that feels good. One more long, nice deep breath here. And we're going to gently come up and just thread that right arm underneath that left. Bring that shoulder down to the mat. Soften through that right shoulder. Let that melt. So every muscle in that right shoulder just dissipate, release, soften into the mat. Breathe into the belly. Soften on the exhalation. And this should feel really good on that right shoulder. Just letting everything go. Every exhalation, just taking your awareness to those muscles in the shoulder and letting them widen and soften, release. And go ahead and bend that left arm. Press up through that left palm. And then we're going to reach forward with that right hand and just thread the needle. Bring that other shoulder down to the mat. Let that left shoulder soften down. Melt and relax and release into the mat. Breathe into that belly. Reconnect with that breath if it's wandered away. Just another breath into that belly, letting those muscles in that left shoulder release. Soften, melt. Go ahead and bend that right arm and press up. And then from here, we're just going to come to the belly. So just lengthening those legs, just come right down to the belly. Move those palms to underneath, right underneath those shoulders. And just taking our awareness to the front of your body. We're pressing everything into the mat, all the way from the hip points, underneath the tops of the feet. Engaging those hamstrings, those glutes, everything, and then peel that chest up off the mat if that feels okay in your low back. Maybe just bringing that up a little bit more with every inhalation, just kind of lifting as long as that's comfortable. Really strengthening through the back, engaging all those muscles, keeping those glutes engaged. And release. Bring those hands down underneath the head and just relax that right shoulder, right cheek on those hands. Bend those knees, just window wash those feet, shake out the back. Massage the tops of those quads. And drop those feet. Now lengthen through the arms for Sphinx pose. So go ahead and have a more gentle stretch or moving those elbows in. Just always mindful of the lower back. Very protective of the lower back. Maybe bring those elbows into underneath those shoulders. We're pressing through those forearms to the palms, through the tops of the feet. Still engaging those glutes. Lifting, one more breath here. And then soften down. Take the opposite cheek down to the top of your hands. Release for breath. Bend those knees, will window wash those feet. Again, just shake out that low back. As fast or as slow as you like. Maybe find one little spot that feels good. Kind of back and forth over that spot. Really feeling that massage on the front of those quads. This should feel really good, relaxing. And dropping those legs, move those hands underneath the shoulders. We're gonna press up. Bringing those knees in, and then we're gonna inhale up, pressing to the tops of the feet, and then just bringing that right foot out in front. Bring that knee over the ankle, just not in front. We're just finding, kind of moving into that spot where you feel that softening to the hips. We're pulling back through that right hip crease, softening for the front of that left hip. Keep your hands on your knees. Hips, sorry, I'm so sorry. It's Monday. And then go ahead, move those hands to the top of that right knee. Pressing down through the top of that back foot. Really feel that connection with that front foot. Soften those hands down to either side of the foot. Nice, long, deep breaths into the belly. And then go ahead and lengthen through that front leg. Softening to the back of that right knee. Move, just adjust here. Move those right toes up to the ceiling. You can take a little bit of a bend in that knee for that runner stretch. You just want those hands down, fingertips maybe, or palms. Pulling that heart towards the foot. Feeling that opening in the back of that right leg. Soften and release any tight areas on exhalation. And then go ahead and just release those hips forward. We're going to bring the hands to the inside of that right foot. Just coming into a lizard. And then we're going to walk those hands out to the left, almost just at an angle. We're going to kind of reach forward, almost like we're in a downward facing dog, kind of feeling to it. I'm going to bow your head down, soften for that right hip flexor. It's, if you want, you can always bring those hands back in. You just find where's a more gentle, a little bit more intense of a stretch. Find your spots. And then working those hands back to the inside of that right foot. And you can always take that right foot kind of out at an angle for a deeper kind of lizard stretch. Kind of heel toe that foot to the edge of the mat over here. We're just releasing. And heel toe that foot back to center. I'm going to tuck the toes of the back foot and start to straighten both those feet and then just scooching into our pyramid pose. So just bring that back foot in a little bit. We just on the fingertips, we just really want those hips squared. Really want to press through both those feet. Feel stable. Lengthen through the back of that neck. Engaging every muscle in the legs. And then from here, just gonna bring that left foot to meet that right foot. So just softly come up here. Feet hip width apart. Let those hands grab opposite elbows. We'll just softly kind of from side to side, a little sway, soften through the neck. Strong through those legs, pushing through all four corners of those feet, feeling that contact with the bottom of the feet to the mat. Let those hands drop down. And we're just going to step back with that right foot, softly come back down. And then inhale, come up, and bring those hands to the hips. Find that spot so that those hips can release and soften, still pulling back through that left hip crease. Move those hands to the top of that left knee. Just a breath here, and then bring those hands down to the mat. Soften those hips forward. Notice if you're holding any tension in your face, and just soften, let that tongue be loose in the mouth. And sometimes we're just holding tension in our face without even realizing it. Just soften the cheeks, the jaw. Go ahead and just start to gently straighten that front leg, come into that runner stretch. So those left toes come up to the ceiling, or soften to the back of that leg, come down to those fingertips or those palms. And lengthening through the back of that neck. Just a few easy breaths here, softening to the back of that knee. All the way up through the hamstring, down towards the ankle. And release those hips forward. We're going to bring that hand to the inside, heel toe that out to the edge. Releasing, softening into that lizard. And you can always be up on the fingertips. We're going to walk those hands out at an angle again on the other side. Angle. You really could just be right here, or maybe you're like further away. Bow the head down. Walking those hands back in. Softening into that lizard. Maybe take that foot at an angle. That feels good. Just want to feel that release to that hip flexor. And then heel toe that back to center. Go ahead and scoot, tuck those back toes, and then we're going to just kind of scooch into that pyramid pose on the other side. So going ahead and straightening through those legs. We bring that foot in a little bit, finding that stance, that length between the feet that you need to be able to really press down through both the feet, split that mat apart, and then maybe bring your fingertips or your palms down to the mat. So strong through those legs. You're sucking at those kneecaps, engaging these muscles up here. Pressing through the feet, really active. And then breathing, those nice long deep breaths still. And then release, and softly bring that back knee down. Press into the top of that right foot. We're gonna gently come back up and bring those knees together. And then we're going to just come to a seated position. Bring those legs out in front. You can always grab a blanket or something to sit on here. We're pressing through those palms, pressing through those heels. Nice long spine, and we're going to inhale, just rise up through those palms, those fingers, and then just hinging forward. Grab the shins, the ankles, the feet. Get that nose down towards the knees. Pulling that heart forward. Not hunching too much, but we want really more of a nice long-ish spine. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight, just not too much of a curve here. So I think pulling your heart or sternum forward rather than your head, top of your head. Press down to the bottoms of those knees. Pressing through the heels, active in those legs. And draw that navel in towards the spine and see if your nose comes just a little closer to the shins. And release, slowly come back up. Going to move those hips towards the center. Grab the backs of those thighs, hamstrings. Just roll down. Gently pull in those knees to the chest. Soften, just rock from side to side. And take those arms out to a T, just drop those knees. Release into that twist, into that stretch, really straightening that top leg. And softening. You can take that gaze in the opposite direction. Breathe into the belly. Release on the exhalation. And then pulling those knees into the chest. Arms come back up to a T and just drop to the other side. Just doing what you need to do here to be able to release into that twist. Always with that option of straightening the top leg or gazing in the opposite direction. And letting go. And pull those knees back in. Bring down those feet. Inhale up that right leg and then bring that ankle to that left knee. Press that right knee away from the body. Stay here. Grab the back of that left hamstring. Flexing both those feet. Breathe into that right hip, into any tight areas, soften on the exhalation. And gently release, we'll switch feet. Inhale up that left leg and then bring the ankle to the knee. Press that left knee away. Staying here, grab the back of that right hamstring. And release down. Bring that left foot down. Go ahead and just lengthen those legs. Arms up to the side, just softening down for Shavasana. Maybe put something under your head or something over your body. Just whatever helps you release and soften down into the mat. Big inhalation. Exhale, gently close the eyes, just sink down into the mat. Just start to follow the breath. I'm starting to inhale relaxation. On the exhalation, release into the mat, letting every muscle, every body part go. Just softens, surrenders into the pose. Let's just soften through the face, cheeks, the muscles around the eyes, the jaw, all soften. The tongue is loose in the mouth. On the next exhalation, let those shoulders melt and soften and widen. And down through your biceps, triceps, forearms, hands. The arms release. And letting your back widen and soften. Your low back, your hips, glutes all melt and soften into the mat. Hamstrings release and soften, quads feel heavy. And softening through the backs of the knees down to the calves, letting them widen, release. Through the ankles, the feet, the toes. Everything softens and widens. All the muscles melt and soften. And just release into the mat. Just continue to follow that breath. Inhaling relaxation. And on the exhalation, just releasing a little bit more into the mat and into the pose. And slowly start to bring your awareness back to your body. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Rock your head from side to side. Bend your knees. Just roll over onto the right side of our body. Take one last breath here. And pressing up into a seated position. Bring your hands to heart center. And the next inhalation, just gently open the eyes. Blink a few times. Namaste. So thank you for joining me this morning. I hope take a part of that feeling of calm for the rest of the day with you. And I hope to see everyone on Wednesday. Have a great Monday.